50 pence, that's what someone paid for this jacket. It was donated last month, it sat on a rail for 3 days, and then someone spotted it, a label, a cut, a fabric weight that told them everything they needed to know. They paid 50 pence. They'll sell it for £65. That is a 13,000% return in a week. Welcome to the second-hand economy, one of the fastest growing, least understood, most misrepresented industries in the world. And the people running it are nothing like you imagine. This is off the books. Let's start with a number. $50 billion. That is the current estimated size of the global second-hand clothing market alone. Not electronics, not furniture, not books, tools, or vehicles. Just clothing. $50 billion. Moving through charity shops, car boot sales, online platforms, industrial sorters, international shipping containers, and open-air markets on 6 continents, every single day. And it's growing at roughly 15% a year. By 2030, analysts project that second-hand apparel will overtake fast fashion entirely. Think about what that means. An industry most people associate with musty church halls and donated Christmas jumpers, about to be larger than Zara, H&M, and Primark combined. But here is what the headlines always get wrong. When they talk about the second-hand boom, they mean the top layer, the apps, the curated vintage boutiques, the influencer unboxings, the pre-loved aesthetic. That is not the real second-hand economy. The real second-hand economy is industrial, unglamorous, and it runs 24 hours a day in warehouses most people will never see. When you donate a bag of clothes to your local charity shop, you probably imagine one of two things. Either your old coat ends up on a rack where someone buys it for £3.50 and feels good about a bargain. Or, if it is worn or out of fashion, it ends up in landfill. Both assumptions are wrong. The truth is more complicated and more interesting. Most charity shops receive far more stock than they can sell. A busy branch might take in 200 donation bags a week. Their shop floor holds maybe 400 individual items at any one time. Do the maths. The overflow, which is the majority or so, does not go to landfill. It gets sold. Behind the charity shop retail operation, there is a parallel industry. Textile recyclers, commercial sorters, companies with names you have never heard of, operating out of enormous warehouses across the Midlands, Yorkshire and South Wales. These companies have long-term contracts with the major charities. They collect unsold and excess donation stock, and they pay for it by the kilogram. Not much. A few pence per kilogram. But at the volumes these operations handle, tens of thousands of tons per year across the UK alone, it is a substantial business. The clothing arrives and is sorted at speed by experienced workers who can assess a garment in seconds. Each item is graded. Grade A, good condition, branded Western market appeal. This gets exported for resale. Eastern Europe, the United States, Japan, Australia, buyers who want affordable branded clothing and have the purchasing power to pay for it. Grade B, middle tier, wearable but less appealing to Western resale markets. This goes to developing markets across sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia and Central America, where it is sold in open-air markets and provides affordable clothing to hundreds of millions of people. Grade C and below, worn beyond repair, stained, structurally damaged. This goes to the rag trade, industrial wiping cloths, insulation, occasionally processed back into textile fibre for new manufacturing. Nothing is wasted, everything has a price. Even your old paint-stained joggers from 2009 are worth something to someone in this system. This is the second-hand economy as a global commodity market. Your donated jacket, the 50 pence one, might end up on a ship heading to Mombasa. It might pass through a sorting facility in Rotterdam. It might be bought by a dealer in Nairobi who sells it from a stall to a student who cannot afford to buy new. The chain is longer than anyone tells you, and more people are making money from it than you would expect. But the industrial sorting layer is only one part of the story, because over the last 5 years, a new layer has emerged on top of it, one that is producing some of the highest margins in retail. These are the arbitrageurs, the resellers, the people who have understood something that most people miss, that value is not fixed, it's a function of context, and that the same item can be worth wildly different amounts depending on where you sell it, when you sell it, and to whom. A Barbour jacket found at a car boot sale for £2, listed on eBay with accurate measurements, professional photographs and the right keywords, sold to a buyer in Japan for £140. A pair of vintage Levi's 501s pulled from a house clearance lot, bought as part of a mixed pallet for pennies each. listed individually on Depop, sold to a buyer in New York for $85. This sounds like luck, like stumbling onto a bargain. But for a growing number of people, particularly in the UK where the charity shop density is the highest in the world, this is not luck. It is a system, built deliberately, refined over years of experience. The serious resellers do not rely on finding a lucky charity shop. They have built sourcing pipelines. They know which charity shops in their area receive stock from which sorting operations, and which postcodes tend to generate higher value donations. Affluent areas where people clear out designer wardrobes, university towns where students abandon entire wardrobes at the end of term. They have accounts with liquidation platforms, BidSquare, Bstock, Liquidation.com, platforms where major retailers, Amazon, Next, Marks and Spencer, John Lewis, sell their customer returns and excess stock in bulk. A pallet of customer returns from a major fashion retailer might have a manifest value of £800. It sells at auction for $250. The buyer knows, from experience, that roughly a third of the items will be resaleable at near full price, a third will sell at a discount, and a third will go back into the charity or car boot ecosystem. The maths works, not every time, but on average it works. And then there is the platform arbitrage, knowing that a specific item sells for one price on Vinted UK, a different price on eBay Germany, and a significantly higher price on the Japanese resale platform Mertoro. Moving the right item to the right market at the right moment, that is where the real expertise lives, and it is expertise that takes years to build. The best operators are running what are essentially small logistics companies, storage units or warehouse space for stock, photography setups, packaging stations, virtual assistants in the Philippines or Eastern Europe managing listings around the clock across multiple platforms. It is a business, a real one, with overheads and processes and margins that need to be tracked carefully. It just does not look like a business from the outside. So who is actually capturing the most value in a $50 billion economy? The honest answer is uncomfortable, not the charities. They sell their surplus for a few pence per kilogram. The operational cost of running a major charity retail chain is enormous. Thousands of shops, thousands of staff and volunteers, property rents on every high street in the country. The margins are thin, not the individual resellers mostly. The people doing the physical work, sourcing, sorting, photographing, listing, packing, shipping, are working hard for margins that are real but limited. Most earn something equivalent to a reasonable hourly rate. Few build genuine scale. The platforms are where the money concentrates. Vinted charges no seller fees, but monetizes through buyer protection charges on every transaction, and has built an advertising business on top of its user base of 90 million registered members. Depop, which positioned itself as the cooler, younger alternative, was acquired by Etsy in 2021 for $1.6 billion. eBay, the original, processes over $70 billion in gross merchandise volume globally each year and takes a fee on every transaction. And behind all of them, logistics. The explosion in small parcel shipping that the second-hand economy has generated is a windfall for every carrier moving individual items between strangers. Royal Mail, Every, DPD, Hermes. Each parcel is a few pounds in revenue. Millions of parcels a day adds up to something very large. And at the bottom of the chain, the commercial sorters and textile recyclers. The businesses nobody has heard of that processed material worth hundreds of millions of pounds a year across the UK alone. Their margins have held steady for decades because their supply is essentially unlimited. People will always donate more than charity shops can sell. The sorters will always have something to grade, bale and ship. The second-hand economy is not a trend that emerged from a sustainability movement or a cost of living crisis. It has been here for decades. It is structural. It absorbs what the formal economy overproduces. It redistributes goods across income levels and across borders. It provides livelihoods, both formal and informal, to millions of people worldwide. And the people who understand how it actually works, not the Instagram version, not the vintage aesthetic story, but the sorting facilities and the grading systems and the platform economics and the arbitrage windows. Those are the people quietly building real businesses in the margins that everyone else ignores. There is always a back channel. There's always a network you are not told about. I'm off the books. Subscribe for a new documentary every week. And if you want to understand how money really moves, this is where you start.